MarieStixon.com, and I'm continuing my trend of do-it-yourself gift ideas for everyone in your life. And today I am focusing on the dads in your life. This is the present that Atticus and I are making for my husband Jared. And so especially if the dad in your life has young children, this is going to be perfect for him. We are making a necktie featuring children's artwork. So adorable. Okay, so here's what you're going to need. A tie that you can't stand that actually does fit him, and 2 pieces of fabric, one to be the outer and one to be the lining. So take your tie and tear it apart, and this will become your pattern. You'll just lay this across your fabric like a template and cut 2 pieces out this size. Inside my tie, I had this piece of really stiff interfacing. So hang on to this, we're going to reuse this. If for some reason your tie doesn't have it, then you can buy some at the store, but you're going to want to make sure that you have some so that your fabric can have the weight that it needs. So I'll set that aside. Okay, so you can see that this tie is very long. It has to be to do the job, and unless you buy a ton of fabric, you're probably going to have to piece your pieces together to get the length you need. So as you're cutting out your fabric, the first thing you have to know is that you have to cut it out on the bias, which means the diagonal. So if you cut it out diagonally, what happens is it makes it stretchier than it would ordinarily, and it gives it the flexibility you need to be able to tie it into the knots. So when you're cutting it diagonally, the bias cut, when you lay it out on the fabric, cut as much as you can using your pattern, and then you'll see here on my tie, it has a great example of how that seam hits. So that seam comes diagonally to keep it with that bias stretch. So when I pieced mine together, all you do is lay your pieces perpendicular to each other like that, and sew diagonally. And then when you fold it out, you get that great diagonal seam. Okay, so you do that for your outer fabric, you do that for your lining fabric, and then lay your fabric. Oh, we have to decorate, of course, how could I forget? So Addie and I had a little coloring party.
Oh.
Oh, that's right. Look. It's a daddy. An O and an X. You are so smart, kiddo.
Pink.
Pink.
I'm thinking of the sky.
I'm thinking of the sky. There are as many different ways to decorate your fabric as there are mediums in the art store. And what we ended up using was just wax crayons, just like you'd use to color a coloring book. And I used those because Addie knows how to use those. And so we colored this together, and then to set this, you just have to iron it. And put a piece of fabric or a piece of paper in between the iron and the fabric so that the wax can have someplace to go besides your iron. You don't want to mess that up. And then once the wax melts, it leaves the pigment behind, and so you get this great color transfer. This probably isn't a great technique if it's going to be an item that is washed a lot, but you know, we're not going to be washing our ties, so this will be just fine. Okay, so once you get it all decorated and it's color fast, then with the right sides together, line up your points and just sew these together. Just right down the side, use about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and then cut off that tip as close as you dare to your stitching line. And you do that for both the front tip and the back tip, and you leave your sides wide open. So I'm going to turn this inside out now, or I guess right side out, and you'll get a nice sharp point if you cut that tip off. Okay, and the other side. And now here's where your interfacing comes in. I'm going to take my recycled interface piecing, and stick that right down into the nose of my piece. And you can use a spray adhesive to get this to stick, or an iron-on interfacing. Once we get this all assembled, it really won't need a lot of help to stay in place. But for right now, either one of those techniques will work. So I'm going to finish fussing with my interfacing and get that centered. The next step is to sew the sides closed. So what we're going to do is actually adjust this here so it lays flat, and I'm going to sew with another 1/4 inch seam just right up the whole sides. Just sew them shut, and your seams will be exposed for right now. But once we get this finished assembling, they'll be all wrapped up inside the tie and hidden. So, okay, so I'm gonna lay my sides out and get to sewing, and then I'll show you what comes next. Now that my sides are sewn, I've gone to the iron, and I used those seams as a guideline to fold over and press down. And then I used my interfacing as another guideline to fold over again and press down. So once I follow the lines that I made with the iron by pressing, then you'll see I magically have a tie shape. And all of those raw edges will be encased in the back. So see how cute that looks from the front? And all the raw edges, it's a little hard to hold it in place for you to see, but all the raw edges will be folded in the back. So now I just have to pin this whole thing closed along the whole back of it, and then just use a needle and thread in a color that matches the your main fabric, and give that a little hand sew closed. And then that's it, your tie is finished. So let me do a little bit of that so you can get the idea of what the finished project is gonna look like when it's all done. There we go. What do you think? It's pretty adorable, right? I think my husband is going to flip when he sees this. It's going to be so cute, and he's going to be able to pull this out after Christmas and for Father's Day and all kinds of things. He's such a sentimental guy. I think that he is just going to go nuts over this. I think it turned out really great, and in fact it's kind of got me inspired to try my hand at some more ties. My husband has a lot of ties in pretty shabby shape, and so I'm thinking maybe I'll go raid his closet and tear apart a few more. So I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. Shoot me a comment, shoot me an email, subscribe to the channel for so many more gift ideas for everyone in your life, and we'll see you around. Bye guys!